you always say, "What's up, guys?" And there's nobody here talking to except me.
I'm talking to the audience, Dave.
Oh, there is no audience yet. You just started.
Oh, but they're here.
All right.
What's up, everybody? How we doing tonight? It's welcome to the Fourth and Goal broadcast. How are we doing? Welcome, David.
With my typical video issue right out of the gate. Hello, everybody. I'm David Llewellyn from Picks with David. That's my buddy Christopher Serra Jr. from Fourth and Goal Broadcasting, and also from NFL Renegades. You're watching the Tuesday night spectacular. Chris, what do we got on tap for tonight?
Lions 2-1.
Are you gonna have shades and smoke a cigar every time the Lions win?
As long as it's Victory Tuesday for the Lions, I got shades on. I'm smoking a cigar.
All right.
It's my new thing. I tried it. I'm going to roll with it.
Okay.
So I don't know. How do you want to do this? You want to go through our two teams and then we'll work our way through the rest of the league?
Oh no, I think we should talk about the news of the week first. You know, we've got some big injuries have gone throughout the league. We'll start with Derek Carr in New Orleans has sprained his throwing shoulder. The AC joint looks like probably going to be Jameis Winston, going forward. Right now until they get his shoulder all squared away. Mike Williams tore his ACL against the Minnesota Vikings for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep. That's
And
what I
so
heard.
he's out for the season. And then, we've got the biggest news of the entire weekend. It's taken over social media. We have to talk about it, at least the entire broadcast, is Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are dating. Don't we want to talk about that, Chris?
Hey, it's actually pretty funny because, Jimmy Ill, the big KC fans and the Renegades, the one who was trying to talk all that dumb shit that the Lions had no chance week 1. He was arguing with me the other day, telling me that Kelce was back with his ex. His ex was having his baby. He's not with Taylor Swift. This is all fake. It's pretty sad when you try to argue me about football, and I owned you because my team backed my words up. And I know more about your tight end than you do. Case closed.
Yeah, I saw your post about it. It's fascinating the things that get involved in our NFL season. Outside noise, people's personal lives and stuff. I'm sure there's some people that are interested. I have a passing interest in what's going on because I watch their, New Heights podcast. And so I'm invested in Jason and Travis Kelce, their family with the movie that they had, the Kelce movie on Amazon Prime, the fact that they both met each other in the Super Bowl this last year, big brother, little brother, they've never had a better relationship, between the two of them. Travis gives all the credit in the world to his big brother that, he wouldn't be where he is if it wasn't for him because he got into trouble in school. He was smoking fucking weed and they kicked him off the team, but he wasn't the only one, but he's one of the ones that they did the drug test on. And so, they had to make an example of him. And early in his career in Kansas City, he was a bit of a malcontent. He would get stupid 15-yard penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. He'd argue and scream and throw his helmet. He has matured and obviously become the best tight end in the NFL, right now. And so everybody's really invested in his life, And so I have a passing interest.
This is all I'm going to say on it.
Go ahead.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
If you got a little time that you really want somebody, shoot your shot. This dude on a broadcast shot a shot. Next thing you know, Taylor Swift is at Arrowhead next to his mom in a suite.
That, in my opinion, that's a smooth move right there, getting her to sit with mama. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you get her to, knowing the family a little bit there, that could work out real good for them. But no, the main thing that I want to talk about is the New York Jets quarterback situation. Okay. I think that Zach Wilson is getting a raw deal. They have no offensive line. They cannot stop anybody. Obviously, that's why Aaron Rodgers got hurt. He was under siege the first 4 plays of the season. And, it's a miracle that Zach hasn't been hurt yet to this point, the way that offensive line is a sieve. They can't run the football, which they were able to do last year. Okay. They have all these weapons offensively. Mecole Hardman comes over from the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's no time to throw the ball to him. He hasn't caught a pass yet. Okay. Garrett Wilson is the guy there, and they're double covering him. And then you got all of the friends of Aaron Rodgers that are on the team. Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, and these guys are not premier receivers that can get open like a Garrett Wilson can if he had single coverage. And so you've got a lot of people talking about how they need to give up on Zach Wilson, bring somebody else in. It's not as simple as that. You can't bring Carson Wentz off, the street to come in. He doesn't know the system. He's unfamiliar with the players. He's not going to have any luck getting in there because he's going to get his ass kicked too behind that offensive line. Okay. Now people are saying, well, you got to have a mobile quarterback. And I don't appreciate what Joe Namath had to say, this week. They've been talking about it on the radio and talking about it on television, is that he thinks they need to reorganize the whole team from the top down. Why? Because the offensive line's porous, and so the quarterback doesn't have time to deliver the football. I like Robert Saleh as a head coach. I don't think that Joe Douglas, the GM of the Jets, has done a bad job. They were in a position, all this publicity and all the offseason and all the hype and everything, and in 4 plays it went straight in the toilet because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. If he didn't get hurt, okay, and they were still playing and their record was what it is right now, okay, then they blame something else. It's always going to be somebody's fault, and we got to blame somebody. And the funny thing that I saw on social media before we began is that even Colin Kaepernick has wrote a letter to the Jets asking for the opportunity to join the practice squad so that he can show them what he's got, because nobody wants to give him a chance because he kneeled for the flag. Whoopity-doo. Okay. And this happened years ago, and he's still paying for it. And no one will give him an opportunity. He's been blackballed the whole time. He just wants to get his foot in the door. And, because he's a mobile quarterback, they have the weapons. Okay. They have a defense that is Super Bowl caliber, but the offensive line is holding them back. They talked about it during Hard Knocks. He chewed the whole offensive line out. And, the commentators said, well, it was just the right tackle he was talking to, the one that was Mekhi Becton, okay? He's the one that they were talking to. He was just chewing everybody out, but he was really talking to Becton. Well, it's not just him. It's the whole offensive line. They are and the Jets are not going to make the playoffs.
But here's my thing. With the Jets. Why the hell are they signing another quarterback or even looking at a quarterback? Why ain't they signing some of these guys that got cut from other teams on O-line and replacing them? That's what I would do at this point. What do you got to lose?
Another quarterback? Cap room because they signed Dalvin Cook. There aren't people out there that they could probably bring in that are starter quality. All the starters are taken. They would have to trade for people, and they don't want to give up future picks because they've already done that by bringing in Aaron Rodgers. No quarterback that is, they signed Trevor Siemian, but he's not a mobile quarterback. All he is a veteran quarterback. He doesn't have a winning record as a quarterback. He's played for several different teams. He's played under this system, so he knows the system. But he's not better than Zach Wilson.
No.
And they can't – anybody that is a really good, decent quarterback that's sitting on the sidelines right now that was hoping for an opportunity takes one look at that offensive line and goes, I'm not coming back to fucking get my ass kicked. I want a chance to win. And as long as that offensive line continues to be the way it is, unless they make some changes to the line, they are not going to get a real quarterback to come in there and try to take over. And I think that Zach Wilson would be fine if he just had time. If the running game would run and he had some time to set up some play action instead of getting killed back there, they would be a lot better off. But they're not going to be in any better shape this week because they're playing Kansas City.
Yep. Ron says the Jets don't want to give up on the season, not to sell tickets like Arizona has done. But the Cardinals had a bit of a big win this year. I agree. I didn't see them winning that game. We'll get to that. Also, and speaking of news, I don't know if you heard this, but Chandler Jones, we haven't really bring him up at any of our broadcasts, but he's been on Twitter saying all this stuff. He just released on Twitter that he just got out of the hospital, that the cops kicked his door in and supposedly took him to the hospital, to a mental hospital, and said people around here are worried about you. And he has no clue who would tell him that or do such a thing. And he's trying to blame it back to Vegas and the Raiders because supposedly he's been locked out of the facility. And a lot of weird shit's been going on since the start of the season.
I've seen the ESPN, just a little blurb there that said Chandler Jones claims he was hospitalized against his will. That's all I saw. I didn't, check into it much because the Raiders are down in the dumps. I don't expect them to be any good. We'll get to them here in a little bit. I've got the lineup just like we did last week. It doesn't have the Thursday night game on there, so we could talk about the Thursday night game real quick. And I need you to set it up so I could share.
All right.
But the Thursday night game, you got the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. They didn't have Saquon Barkley. For the Giants. The Giants looked bad against the Cowboys. They looked bad in the first half against the Arizona Cardinals. They managed to come back and win that game, which really was a surprise to me. But, then they had to play at San Francisco, and San Francisco just kind of toyed around in the first half and then cut it loose in the second half. 49ers ended up blowing them out and winning the game. I think that it's good for the 49ers that they have some games like this early in the season to fine-tune their skills as they go through before they start playing against the much more tougher opponents.
Yeah, the Giants are definitely taking a seat back this year. I thought they were going to be another playoff team, but unless they figure something out real fast, it's not looking good for them. But the 49ers, man, they're rolling. They're looking pretty good.
Okay, so let's take a look here as we'll share this. And so we've got my screen going to act up. I knew it.
Ron, I would say,
but I can see what's going on over here on the on my phone. So I'm just going to continue on, and I can hear you.
Okay.
So, you got the Detroit Lions. There you go. Your team beat the Atlanta Falcons.
Let me just say this. BB, that rookie from Alabama. God, he is like a nuclear missile out there. That dude had the best play of the game. They called him for a horse collar. Gave him a first down. And I swear the next play before they could even get set up, he was in the backfield tackling for a loss. It was like, you can have that first down, but watch this. I'm not done yet. The defense showed out. Hutchinson, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery. Our D-line looked great. Riddler was running for his life. Offense, still got some bumps to work out, but Gibbs looked better as the game went on. He got 18 touches. I like where the kid's headed. Looks like Montgomery's going to be back for Thursday night, so he'll have to split carries this week. But he filled in big time, and I want to give it up to our O-line. Our O-line held up because we lost our other guard. Decker still didn't play. We actually lost our backup tackle that was covering Penny Sewell's side because he went the left side for Decker. He got hurt. His replacement came in, got hurt. We got down to our four-string O-lineman Sunday, and our O-line was still dominating. Goff still didn't have to run for his life. That's what I'm talking about. The Lions finally have depth. We had a lot of injuries, but they showed us our depth is good enough to overcome this. And we're getting a few of our starters back next week. So I'm excited. Way to play.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with the defense. I liked the fact that that they were able to hold the running game down of the Atlanta Falcons. I think that their whole offense for Atlanta is predicated upon running the football. And if they have trouble running the ball, you have a chance to tee off against Desmond Ridder, and that's what happened in the game.
Exactly. Bijan Robinson, who? Hey, I just had to say that because all week, all radio talk, that's all I heard. Can they stop Bijan Robinson? Are they going to be able to do it? So that's what
it's easy to stop them when they don't give them the ball.
That is true.
In my opinion, I understand the whole splitting carries situation with the other really good runner and Tyler Algier, but you got to find one of them that gets on a roll and stick with that guy for a while instead of let's go with this guy one play and then let's go with this guy the next play. I think it throws off your rhythm, and
for sure.
I think it's part of the reason why it cost them this game.
That could be it.
Well, let's move on to the saddest situation. I can't believe this. The Minnesota Vikings, the lowly team in the division, lose again, this time at home to the LA Chargers. The Chargers gift wrapped this game for them, okay, by trying to go for it, on 4th and 1 in their own territory. Plenty of time left on the clock. The coach said, well, we were up by 4, and that was a real deciding factor. Well, how about they ain't been able to drive the length of the field all day long? How about punt the ball?
Exactly.
And so I thought that was pretty dumb on the Chargers' part. I think Staley's getting fired at the end of this season for the Chargers. Yes, they won this game. I think it's too early, for Kevin O'Connell to be in any trouble. This is only his second season. But, they've started 0-3. The offense, Kirk Cousins leads the league in passing yards. Justin Jefferson leads the league in receiving yards. And Danielle Hunter leads the league in hurries from the pass rush. And yet they're 0-3. And it's all because, and what I said after the first week of the season, they can't run the football. And they turn the ball over. Alexander Madison, they cut Myles Gaskin today. They should have cut Alexander Madison and found him a new running back. I'm still calling for them to trade for Jonathan Taylor. I think it'll make a world of difference. But by the time they get him, it may be too little too late in what is turning out to be a pretty strong NFC this year.
Yeah. Like I said in the preseason, the team we had to worry about for the Lions would be the Vikings because I didn't expect the Pack to be 2-1. We'll get to them next, but I thought the Vikings would have been the team to possibly be the ones that challenge us for the North this year, and they're 0-3. And to me, it's exactly what I said. They can't run the ball. It's coaching mistakes. Kirk Cousins turned the ball over. Other players are fumbling the ball. It's ugly. And you got to figure it out before it's too late. But like you said, I think it might be too late by the time they pull the gun because it seems like they're not trying to trade anybody. But can they afford Jonathan Taylor with that cap situation over there?
Yeah, and then for the Chargers, I mean, they didn't play with Austin Eckler again this week. They went with Joshua Kelly, and, he's not picking up the kind of yards that you would expect when they try to run the football. I still think that the Vikings defense, when they're not put in a bad situation on like a real short field because of turnovers, I think the Vikings defense has played well this year. But, it's just they can't run the ball and they turn the ball over too much. And that's what's cost the Vikings so far.
When you can't run the ball, your offense, you're getting no help from your offense, your defense is sitting duck. Because eventually your defense is going to get tired. And they're not going to have the energy levels to do what they need to do to win you the game.
We're falling behind on our comments here. I don't think that the 49ers are unbeatable, Ron. I think that, they look good right now. And like I said, it's a good thing that they're getting these games early in the season so they can sharpen their skills to play against the tougher teams later on down the road. They look like they're a little bit out of sync in the first half of games. Well, after they get past, into halftime, then they really turn it on. I think that's halftime adjustments and such from Kyle Shanahan. And, they examine the weak points of the other team's defenses, and they're able to capitalize on it. I agree. Brian Branch's money for the Lions. I was really thrilled when he got picked by you guys. Me and Chris talked about it. I'm like, man, can you believe he was still there? And so he was really excited during the draft time. And that pick is panning out for him so far. In my opinion, defensive rookie of the year so far.
He's playing like this. I'm going to have to buy me a jersey real soon with his number on it.
Yeah, and then so we're moving on to, the Saints and the Packers. And this is the game that the Saints had a 17-0 lead. They were in control of this game. I watched this game very closely because, one, I had some money on it, lost my ass. Thanks a lot, Packers. And two, I'm expecting big things from this team, moving forward. I thought this might be the week that they take control of the division. Atlanta playing Detroit, Tampa Bay playing against Philadelphia. All they had to do was seal the deal, but they stopped running the football. And then Carr got hurt. And, once Carr was hurt, you bring in Jameis Winston. And, he didn't turn the ball over or anything crazy, but they just couldn't seem to move the ball. The offense was out of sync. And then in the fourth quarter, Jordan Love and his receivers turned it on. And, Green Bay is a threat. They're a young team, and they have a lot of growing up to do, learning about how to deal with certain situations. And I think this is a big step in their growth to come back from 17 down and win the game. This game was won on analytics, by the way, because they went for two when they didn't have to earlier in the fourth quarter. So all they had to do was score a normal touchdown and kick the extra point to take the lead at the end. And so that was an interesting call on Matt LaFleur's, part there for the Packers. But, they managed to win this game with the absence of Aaron Jones, who didn't play at the running back spot. They had A.J. Dillon, who filled in okay, but he's not Aaron Jones. And, of course, that's against a very tough New Orleans Saints defense up front. I like this guy, Carl Granderson. I haven't heard of him before until this year, but he's been making plays on the defensive line. You pair him with Cameron Jordan, and you can see that they have the building blocks there defensively. If the offense would just catch up to the defense, I think the Saints could still be dangerous. Derek Carr is going to be week to week. I would sit him down for a couple of weeks and make sure he's good and healthy before I brought him back in.
My take is I still feel like the Packers got this game a little bit of a gift just because I feel like Derek Carr is still in the game. I feel like they might not settle for that field goal that far away. I feel like Carr could have got him closer, if not in the end zone. But hey, you got a break, you capitalized, and you won. I also want to say this, Jordan Love, I'm going to give him some compliments because I wasn't sold on him being a starter in this league from previous times. I've seen him get his couple chances, but the kid's been playing pretty good. He hasn't been throwing picks. He's been throwing clean balls, making smart decisions. The Packers got something here with the QB. And they're not as bad as one time as we thought they could have been. They played some good football, and Thursday night, I believe it's going to be a test. I don't think it's going to be an easy game for the Lions. I still think we win this game, but I expect a good game. I'm actually really stoked for Thursday night because regardless, win or lose, it's going to be a battle in Lambeau. And I'm excited because I think you're seeing the two best teams out of the North this Thursday play because I don't expect the Vikings to make a comeback after 0-3. It's possible, but unless they get a running game overnight, I don't think that's going to happen. The Bears, that place is just – I mean, if you've seen a dumpster on fire, that's Soldier Field right now. You got reports coming out that they're not sold on Justin Fields already. All this, their DC supposedly possibly going down for child porn. I don't know how true that is. They got a lot of stuff going to Chicago. So to me, you guys are about to see the best two teams out of the North Thursday night. I'm excited for the game. Saints, I think they're going to be all right as long as Carr's not out too long. Jameis Winston, he's shown he can win some games. And just can he give you consistent play until Carr comes back is going to be the real question. But that was a pretty good game. I enjoyed watching both of the endings of both of those games Sunday.
Well, go ahead and talk about the Houston-Jacksonville game. I've got to reset, and I'll be back in just a second.
All right, Bob. Houston and Jacksonville. This was actually a very surprised. I'm not sure what's going on in Jacksonville. To me, this is a way better team than Houston. This should have been a 37-17 blowout for Jacksonville, not Houston. Somebody just didn't show up or something happened. I didn't get to see that game. All I know is when I seen the final score of that game, I was shocked. Congrats on CJ Stroud on his first NFL win. From what I've read, seems like he played a pretty good game as a rookie. But what's the main question? We knew this is going to be a learning era for the Houston Texans, type season. You got a rookie QB. You're not expected to make the playoffs. You're just there. It's a learning year. Jacksonville now was predicted to win their division, be a tough team after last year making the playoffs, almost giving KC a run for their money, and they've lost to some games here. I know it's early, but they lost to some teams. It's really making you question where they truly at as a team, because I expected them to be a hot team coming in the start of this season. I expected Trevor Lawrence to take a step further, but we're just not seeing the consistency, and we're seeing some issues with Jacksonville. I still think they should make the playoffs. They should still be able to win their division, but they got to clean some stuff up and get some things going. What's your opinions on the Texans game here? Same here, Ron. I mean, I know I didn't see the game. Mind you, I just didn't watch that game. I was too focused on the Lions and the Bears and the Saints and Green Bay and Minnesota and the Chargers. But seriously. I just don't know exactly what's going on with Jacksonville. I expected a way better year, way better start to the season than we've got. We got David back.
Mostly. As long as it doesn't go crazy when I try to fix my background. Yay. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. I need to get my computer around. I really do, to a shop or something, because this thing is just crazy. Let me go back to sharing our page here. Oh, I can't. I gotta go load it back up here. And where are you?
But what was your takes? What was your take on Jacksonville?
Jacksonville and the Texans.
Yeah,
I am really disappointed, I think should be the right word, in in Jacksonville. I thought that this was going to be, an opportunity for them to to really seize control of the division. I thought that they were going to be the team that was going to be, the team this year in that division. And, it seems like they've taken a step back. I don't know if it's because they have, they have what I want to call it, different, personnel compared to last year. But, they have struggled in almost every game that they have played. They struggled in the first half against the Colts in week 1. Then they struggled against the Kansas City Chiefs. But we've talked about how we think Kansas City's defense is much improved this year. And so we don't know whether or not that was because of Kansas City's defense or just because, they are not gelling. I thought that Calvin Ridley was a huge addition. They've got 2 guys that can run the football in Tank Bigsby and in Travis Etienne. But it's just like their defense can't stop anybody right now. Their defense is the part that's struggling. And Houston's giving it everything they got to try and win some games here. They played hard in every game that they have played thus far this season. And, all that talk about, Ohio State quarterback not going to do good in the NFL. And CJ Stroud has played well and not turned the ball over, okay, in the games that I have watched. They played Baltimore really tough. And Baltimore is a playoff caliber team. They beat Jacksonville. They should be a playoff team. And so we'll be keeping an eye on Houston the rest of this season and seeing whether or not maybe they've got something going on there. They're building for the future. Now, I don't think they've run the ball worth a darn, because I got Damian Pierce in a couple of my fantasy leagues. He did happen to score a touchdown, but, he's not putting up, hundreds of yards on the ground or anything. It's basically everything's been through the air or defensively, D'Amico Ryan's defense there in Houston.
Yep.
Well, let's get to the debacle, and that is the Miami Dolphins putting up 70 on the Denver Broncos. First time that a team has scored 70 points in the NFL since 1966. And I tell you what, they are a threat, okay? We knew that they were going to be a playoff team, but they are a threat.
Hey, I called this.
Well, they did it against Denver. Denver's not any good. Denver, to be honest, I watched this game, and Denver gave up in the third quarter. They were trying to fight and maintain themselves. It wasn't bad at halftime. I think it was 35-14, and they still were in the game. But they come out, it's hot, it's humid. They're in an unfriendly environment. And It just felt like, they couldn't wait for the game to be over.
Can you blame them?
Well, no, I don't blame them, but, there's a lot of guys that are on that team. They had a post-game interview with like Garrett Bowles or whatever, and he was cussing up a storm. He'd been there for 7 years, and he's done nothing but lose, and he wants to be a winner. He expected that they would be better this year. They had their opportunities to win the first 2 games of the season, and they pissed them down their legs. And now they're playing against a couple of the big boys like Miami here, and they're going to get taken apart. And so, I thought, and I still think, that they are going to, come out of this stronger, because I expect Denver to win at least one of the 2 games they play against Kansas City this year. I just have that feeling that, they're going to shock people. Well, they give up 70. How did they beat the Chiefs? It may be that the Chiefs beat themselves, because that's usually how they've lost over the last several years.
Yeah.
But I still think Denver's going to get them, at least one time this season.
See,
Probably in Denver. Probably not going to happen in Arrowhead. But
see, my thing, I'm just going to put this out. I think this game was personal a little bit for Miami, just a tad bit. Because if you guys remember, Sean Payton didn't have the nicest things to say about Tua when he wasn't coaching. There's a statement he said he expected Tua to get benched for Teddy Bridgewater. Now, also, Mike McDaniel, the head coach of Miami, grew up as the ball boy for the Denver Broncos, and that's his favorite team. And he was one of the only teams that wouldn't give him a head coaching interview. Now, you don't run the score up 70-20 unless you're trying to send a message. You're saying
they tried to take their foot off the gas pedal. They had the backups in the game. They had, they were running the football instead of passing it down the field, and there were just huge gaps. And as I said, Denver's defense, which should be the strength of the team, they just gave up. And so you got Mostert running down the field. You got A-Chain running down the field, just big old huge gaps, and they just kept scoring touchdowns. And so, this is one of those ones where they're going to take the tape out back and they're going to burn it and bury it and hope nothing like this ever happens again.
Yep.
Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. And I tell you what, Deshaun Watson's starting to show some glimmers of the guy he was in Houston. They ran the football with, Ford, the guy who was backing up Nick Chubb, because Chubb was hurt. They had a little bit of Kareem Hunt, but not a whole lot. And but Watson was getting the ball down the field to Amari Cooper. He was getting the ball to his tight ends, and he was scrambling and making plays with his feet against that tough Tennessee defense. And Tennessee's offense was toothless. They couldn't do anything throwing the ball down the field. They tried to run with Derrick Henry, and the Browns ganged up on him. And, so I think that, I think Cleveland's going to surprise some people the rest of the season. I think that they're going to be, at the very least, in the playoff hunt. I know that, of course, they beat the Bengals in week 1. They did lose to the Steelers, but it was a close game. And now here they beat Tennessee. Now, they haven't really whooped up on anybody that's been at full strength and raring to go. So we'll just have to watch as we go forward here. What do you think, bud?
I think Cleveland bounced back. I predicted Tennessee to have trouble from the beginning of this year. They really degrade. So this don't shock me because I seen it coming. But wait for Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns to back up, because they should have won a couple games that they lost this year. They had chances, just didn't make the plays to get them done. So it's good to see them to bounce back. It's always good to see teams like the Browns and the Lions do good.
Buffalo Bills blow out the Washington Commanders. And, I watched some clips of this game. I watched some pieces of it. They had the free red zone going on, this last weekend. And I tell you, it just feels like Washington didn't run the ball as much as they should have, or they wasn't having any success trying to run the ball. And that's caused a bunch of turnovers. I believe 4 interceptions for Sam Howell. And, of course, at that point, Buffalo could do no wrong offensively. And so Allen just aired it out, and they stomped Washington.
Yep. Allen's definitely responding to all the hard criticism he got since week 1. And he's definitely trying to show that, hey, I still got it. I don't know what you guys are talking about. One bad game don't justify who I am. And right now they got it rolling now 2 weeks straight.
Catching up on our comments here, Ron says that maybe Jacksonville's concerned with their long European trip. That's pretty funny because they'll be playing a couple of games out in London, here over the next couple of weeks. And, Houston reminds him of a Lions team the past few years where they play their ass off, but they just come up short most of the time. And he thinks that Cleveland is for real. So that's good, and I agree, Denver, absolute embarrassment. Let's move on to one of the upsets of the weekend, and that is the Indianapolis Colts go into Baltimore, and on the strength of their defense with Gardner Minshew starting at quarterback, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were supposed to have this high-powered offense under new offensive coordinator Todd Monken. But instead of having that big-time offense, they're not getting the ball down the field, to their playmakers. They do try to run the ball. The best plays I saw out of Baltimore on Sunday was Lamar Jackson keeping the ball and running it himself. And that doesn't bode well for their offense going forward when they play some of the heavy-hitting their teams. Colts are not that, spectacular a team. They've been on the cusp of the playoffs for several years in a row when they were under Frank Reich. Last year, the wheels fell off, but now they've added a couple of pieces. They got the new head coach there, who's the former offensive coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles. Minshew knows the system. He got the ball to Pittman. He got the ball to his tight ends. Zach Moss has been filling in admirably running the football, in place of Jonathan Taylor. And so, here's Indianapolis, looking pretty good in their division thanks to the loss by Jacksonville.
Yeah. No, the Colts came out and played. They stole a game from a division. They stole a game from Baltimore. I know the Ravens didn't want to lose that game, but I'm actually mad because this is another game I didn't really get to see. But I think I turned to it, and then by the time I turned back, it was over.
That's all right. Well, so then we move on and we talk about, New England Patriots and the New York Jets. Of course, the New York media is losing their minds because they've lost to New England so many times in a row. They haven't won a game against them since like 2015 or 16 when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback of the Jets. I tell you, they could sure use Ryan Fitzpatrick right about now. But he'd get killed behind that offensive line, which we talked about earlier. But look, they held New England to 15 points and couldn't win the game. That shows that their defense is still playing hard. It's the offense that's letting them down, and it's all about that offensive line because they can't run the football the way they want, and they can't protect their quarterback.
Exactly. You got an offensive line there, they would have a chance every game to win. The Patriots, that's what really needed this win. and they got it due to, we know why, because no one could block.
Yeah,
But-
this was an opportunity for the New England Patriots to go 0-3 for the very first time under Bill Belichick. It
Yeah,
almost happened. And he's closing in on the all-time head coaching wins record. If he wins, 8 to 10 games this year, and he wins 8 to 10 games next year, he should pass Don Shula for the all-time head coaching wins record. I don't know if he'll be there that long, because if they don't start winning, a lot more games real soon, Bob Kraft may decide it's time to make a change after all these years. But
don't mean he
we
won't go
move
somewhere
on to
else.
the Seattle Seahawks and the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers have not put up a lot of points all year long, but they did put up 27 against Seattle's defense because they had Andy Dalton starting the game as Bryce Young was out due to I think he was either in concussion protocol, or he's got a some kind of a knee injury or problem. And but they played well. But Seattle was the better team. Carolina led the game early. Seattle came back, and then they put it away late in the game on the balance of running the football. Kenneth Walker III is a beast,
Yeah.
and they've got some really good receivers there. I thought that Tyler Lockett played lights out, him and DK Metcalf. They're bringing along Jackson Smith and Jigma slowly. But I think eventually, he'll be the big playmaker that they expected when they drafted him in the first round. But, I think that what happened in week 1 against the Rams was an aberration. They went into Detroit and they managed to win there. Now they're at home and they beat Carolina. After watching the Rams play on Monday night, maybe it was just the fact that the Rams were playing against a Cincinnati team that had a lot to prove. But, I just think that, Seattle is still a playoff team in my mind.
They look like it, and they played like it the last 2 weeks. Now, one quick question when I'm going to go with the Panthers. They looked a lot better with Andy Dalton. Do you think they might actually leave Andy Dalton as the starter for a little bit and let Young just sit back, rest up, and see if he can't, just sit back and watch Andy and then maybe come back towards the end of the season to see what he's learned from watching?
It depends on what their philosophy is. You're dealing with Frank Reich, who was a quarterback in the NFL. And, this is not his first rodeo grooming a young quarterback in the league. And so, if he's injured in the least, the smart move is to let him sit and let Andy Dalton go out there and play, But this whole year is a learning year for Bryce Young. And if he could go out there and play, then they should play him, because there's nothing like on the field experience.
That's true. That is true. So
go ahead. We've got the biggest upset of the weekend right there. You want to tell us all about it?
Yeah. Dallas, was projected to go in and kill the Cardinals. Shit, last Tuesday, I said Dallas was going to fucking eat. And now I'm eating crow because Dallas did not eat. The Cardinals sure did. Dobbs got, I think, his first career win.
Crow, you got to stop smoking the cigar and take the shades off.
Hey, we're not eating crow about my team now, guy. This is a prediction I got wrong.
I watched only a couple parts of this game because I was focused on Kansas City. And, the Cowboys, they run the ball good between the 20s. And then they get to the red zone and they get pass happy instead of continuing to do what they got them there. Okay. And so, I think that cost them. Turnovers cost them. They had an opportunity to tie the game up, and Dak Prescott threw a red zone interception in the end zone, which was his first of the year. And, but they've been world beaters defensively all season, and that was not the case in this game. We know they lost Trevon Diggs to injured reserve as he tore his ACL during practice during the week. But one player on the defense, especially one that's in the secondary and not the pass rusher like Micah Parsons, does not turn this team upside down like this. Yeah. I think that, it's obvious that the two New York teams that the Cowboys played are frauds. Neither one of them are any good. And so, everybody thought that they were going to be good. And because of the good defense of the Jets, and because they were playing in New York against the Giants on opening night, a playoff team, everybody wants to crown Dallas because they're America's team and they get all the ratings and everything. But Dallas is not all that in a bag of donuts right now. And they were playing without three starters on their offensive line, which goes back to what we were talking about with the Jets. If your offensive line isn't intact, you're not going to be able to protect the quarterback. You're not going to be able to run the ball like you want to. And it cost them against a team that I think everybody thought was going to get killed and ended up winning the game as Arizona had played hard the whole time. I am stunned that Joshua Dobbs is playing as well as he is at quarterback for Arizona after he was picked up just days before the season to be the starter instead of Clayton Tune, who they had drafted and had played for them the whole preseason.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty good, and he deserved that win. Ron says Dallas looked past the Cardinals and automatically put up a win, and it bit them in the ass.
I agree. Yeah, they're looking past them to bigger and better things. And, when they start, Dallas is notorious for reading the press clippings and being like, oh, yeah, we're going. We're winning it all. We them boys. No, you're not. You're not one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the NFL. Those spots are reserved for San Francisco, Miami, Philadelphia, Kansas City. Okay. Those are the top 4 teams in the NFL, not Dallas. Okay. Now, there could be some conjecture on who else is in there when it comes to playoff teams and stuff, but those are your top 4 teams in the NFL.
According to Power Awakens, I'm pretty sure I've seen the Lions at 5.
That's fine. So let's go to Kansas City. Kansas City's offense is starting to click. They're starting to find what it is that made them, what they have been over the last couple of years. And the defense is continuing to play very well. Chris Jones dominated that offensive line of the Chicago Bears. The Bears only were able to put up points late in the game when they took out the starters and was just letting backups play. And a lot of people are not talking about Patrick Mahomes injured his ankle in the first half. After we kind of got heisted because they are picking on Jawan Taylor, saying that he lined up in the backfield, and he did not. But they're looking for reasons to throw the flag on him. Kansas City had a long touchdown pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling on a blown coverage, and they called illegal procedure or illegal formation.
Yeah.
And after looking, even the guy in the booth, who's the rep in the booth, said he's not too far back, but they're trying to, they're really trying to make a point of it. And I saw a guy that was commenting during the Monday night games that Landon Dickerson was doing the exact same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles on the Monday night game. They never called the false start when he took off early. They never called him for sitting back too too far back. It was because it was the opening game of the season. Everybody's watching it on NBC, and because they didn't call it, it became a big deal. But there are other tackles around the league that do that, and because it was the Chiefs, now it's a deal, because they're a winning team.
Also, I did see a video I watched when you guys took your starters out Sunday. You actually replaced Taylor with a different tackle, and the tackle lined up very similar to him, and not one time that tackle was called.
And he was benched earlier in the game. They could say whatever they want, but he was benched for a series because
that's why they said they benched him.
He kept getting called, for being in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And so, they took him out. Well, then when the left tackle got hurt, Donovan Smith got hurt, they had to bring Taylor back in, and they put him at right tackle, and the guy that was at right tackle had to play left tackle.
Well, yeah, that's what the video said. When they benched him for that series, they put the guy in, and the guy was doing a similar stance, similar everything, and he wasn't flagged one time.
Yeah.
For it. I wasn't sure if he was benched. I just assumed it was when I didn't know your left tackle got hurt. So I just assumed it was towards the end of the game because I didn't really – I forgot what I ended up having to do when this game was on. I had to go somewhere and do something, and I wanted to watch it. By the time I got back, it was a blown out.
Listen, Kansas City's offense is starting to come around. Mahomes is starting to find Rashee Rice, the second-round draft pick this year of the Chiefs. They're starting to make a lot of plays with him. He caught another touchdown here this week. Of course, Travis Kelce caught a touchdown, and they utilized a lot of running game, and they used all three running backs. The three-headed running game in Kansas City is Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And every one of them got plenty of touches in the game, racked up plenty of yards, scored touchdowns. It was a good showing for the Chiefs offensively, continuing to be good on defense for the Chiefs. Chicago was never going to win this game. They've got way too many problems. The defense that the Bears are always known for is a shell of itself. And offensively, they do not stick with the running game. They only, they're waiting on Justin Fields to try and make a play with his legs, because when he tries to throw it down the field, the balls get tipped away because he's not throwing people open. It's like he expects everybody to be wide open when he goes to throw the ball to him, and it's not college, And so I think that his struggles are going to continue. Hopefully he will learn from his struggles and they will get better throughout the season. But it sure feels like they're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes right now. And Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Bears, is on the hot seat.
Yeah. I was just getting ready to bring this up. I think it's time that you got to move on from Justin Fields. I mean, either that or give him a new coach ASAP, because what's going on right now is not doing it. He seems like he's just scared to throw the ball. I mean, I watched that play, not from last week's game, not this past Sunday, for the week before. He had three, at least two for sure, wide receivers wide open in the end zone, possibly a third, and he just sat there and stood there until he got sacked. It was a 6-hour
pass rush instead of looking downfield.
Yeah, it was like a 7, maybe 8 yards at the most throw in the end zone, and he just sat there bouncing around until he got sacked. And it was like, dude, I could have thrown this touchdown. I'm not a quarterback.
Sunday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers went into Vegas. And, on the strength of their defense, their offense actually started to come alive. They started being able to get the ball down the field to Pickens and Freiermuth. And, they're still having trouble running the football. But if they catch teams at the right time, they pick up big chunks, and that's where they get their yardage at, because it sure ain't consistent. As far as the Raiders are concerned, I think this is another one of those years where everybody hypes them up to be good, and they just aren't. They don't have the right pieces to the puzzle. They can't run the football. Josh Jacobs is not the player he was last year. Granted, they're trying to run the ball against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. TJ Watt is a beast. Right now, he gets my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. And, I just think that Pittsburgh is always in the thick of things. Right now, they beat up on, a team that isn't really any good. Their offense needs to continue to improve, and they got to get that running game going. But they got all the defense and special teams that they need to make it into the playoffs this year.
Exactly. I'm just going to bring up a little point. I think Vegas might have actually way more problems on the brewing. Now, I mentioned Chandler Jones earlier. They got something going on there. But here's a new thing. Devontae Adams is coming out, and he's already saying publicly he's sick of losing.
Yeah, he's going to end up getting traded. I don't know if it'll be in season or if it'll be after the season is over, because they're still hoping to do something. But it just doesn't feel like he wants to be there anymore. They already got rid of his friend and quarterback, Derek Carr. That's one of the main reasons why he went there. And so now, he's not happy but with the players that he's playing with, and he's not happy with the fact that they're not winning.
You possibly
that takes us on to our Monday Night Football games, which I don't have a graphic for, but Philadelphia was running the ball at will against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That offensive line is really something. And, I just think that while Tampa will be fine, I still think that they have a chance, especially in that division, to contend for a playoff spot. But they ran into a buzzsaw. Philadelphia's one of the top, like we just said, top 3 teams in the league. Yeah. And, when you run up against them, even if you're playing at home, they managed to keep it close for a little while into the second quarter, but then Philadelphia just overwhelmed them.
Well, to me, overwhelmed because the score, what was the final score? 25-11? I'm pretty sure. It was only 14 points. So to me,
they controlled the whole game.
No, I'm not taking nothing away from the Eagles. But what I'm trying to say is, to me, for Baker Mayfield being on a team that I think the Eagles could have spanked. And I know they started out, they won both of their 2 games, started up 2-0. And Baker's been playing like old Baker, college Baker, playing good. I didn't see him winning this game. But to me, that's still a positive to hang your hat on, because I still feel like they win in this matchup Monday night, really undermatched for the Eagles. And they only lost by 14. It could have been worse.
Yeah, and then the other game, you got Cincinnati Bengals were hosting the Rams. The calf injury was limiting Joe Burrow to throwing a lot of short passes. And I think that's one of the reasons why the game stayed so close as it did throughout. I think that had he been at full strength, because they were force-feeding balls to Jamar Chase. He had like 13 catches and eventually had a ton of yards throughout the game, but a lot of them was after the catch, not, downfield.
Yeah, the Bengals look bad. They just got that. To me, they just got lucky that the Rams played bad too.
Yeah.
Because if the Rams played like they did in the opening week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, when they played Seattle.
They played
good against San Francisco. You know, But, they've got some injuries on the offensive line again, and they're still missing Cooper Kupp, although Puka Kanua is playing well. Tutu Atwell was the rookie wide receiver that showed out last night, and I think, I looked at the replay. I thought that he was still in and did not go out of bounds on that jet sweep. But, they ruled him out. That would have been a touchdown right there, for the Rams, which could have been the difference in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, anything else about this last week before we move on?
No, I'm good with it.
All right, let me close this.
Oh, I'll read some comments while you do that.
Yeah, go
Ryan
ahead.
said, TJ Watt is a beast. I'm just saying. Then he said, I was watching the game and I was like, man, if the Lions just had Watt and Max Crosby, woo. And then he said, Tampa is way better than people thought, but Philly's defense is just money. You ain't wrong there, Ron. And then he said, Bengals just don't look good. And what the hell is wrong with T. Higgins?
I don't know what the hell's wrong with T. Higgins.
He looks like
he's in a contract year and he's trying to show out, and maybe he's just trying to do too much.
Exactly.
But here's now we can start talking about it. This is our Week 4 preview. We've got the Thursday night game, the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. I think this is going to be a really good matchup because I think that the Packers have a decent defense. But, it'll depend on how Jordan Love plays. If he is consistent, which I don't think he will be, the Packers have a chance to win this game. But I personally like the Lions in the game. I think that, their offense travels. They were able to win last year in the last game of the season. And despite the Packers, having all this youth, on their side, I think that Detroit will look to run the football down their throat, play action pass, rely on Aiden Hutchinson in the pass rush to get to Jordan Love. And I think Detroit can, go into Green Bay and win the game.
I agree with you. I think the Packers defense will show up and not make it easy. I think Love's going to make a few plays, but I expect my defense to play as good as last week. I feel like they're coming in off of a big performance. I think the Lions win. But this is the North, and anything can happen on Thursday. But I'm confident the Lions could win, possibly even by 2 touchdowns.
Well, Sunday, we've got the Calvin Ridley Bowl. It's the Atlanta Falcons at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the way that Jacksonville has been playing lately, I got to think the Falcons got to be favored to win the game.
I would have to agree because, even though we dominated them, they weren't – it wasn't easy. And Jacksonville's has been making mistakes left and right week after week now. So Ridley might lose the one game he probably had circled on his calendar for a couple of years now.
Well, now you've got probably what's going to be the game of the weekend. We're going to find out how for real the Miami Dolphins really are as they go to play Buffalo in Buffalo. And I tell you, I think that if Buffalo can hold the running game down against Miami like they did against Washington, Buffalo's got a real shot to win the game because a lot of the things that Miami does is all set up by the running game.
Yeah.
If they don't get Mostert and A-Chain going, then that's not going to allow, the play action passes that get way down the field to Tyreek Hill. We won't know if Jalen Waddle's going to play this week. He did not play against Denver. I like Miami just initially. But we'll have to see, moving forward, if any injuries occur in practice, what the weather is going to be like there. I just think that Miami might be the better team right now, especially coming off of last year. Miami almost beat Buffalo in the playoffs.
Yep.
And they did it with Skylar Thompson at quarterback and not Tua.
I think Miami loses this game, or Miami wins this game. Now, I will say that the Bills got a chance. Like you said, they got to stop that running game. What was it? I was just going. Damn it! I might come back to that. I lost what I was going to say. I had something to say about the Bills particularly, and I can't think of it right this second. I hate that. But
That's
no,
all right. We'll move on to the Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. A battle of 0-3 teams. They're going to be playing at home, possibly Andy Dalton starting. If Andy Dalton starts the game, the Panthers will have a chance. If he doesn't start the game and they go to Bryce Young, I really believe Minnesota gets the victory in this game.
see, I'm 50-50 on if Young starts. And even though Minnesota should win the game if Young starts, for sure. But this is why I'm just going to sit here and say that there still could be a 50-50 chance shot, is because all 3 weeks, I really don't believe Minnesota's cost themselves all 3 games. They could have been in the first game of the season. They could have had a chance in the second, and they had a chance in the third. Third game.
Turnovers killed them. They pissed
Exactly.
games away.
So I'm not ready to say that. Because to me, it might not matter who plays quarterback for Carolina as long as they can put some points on the board. Some way, either running game, touchdown. Because if Minnesota goes out there turning the ball over, that could cost them another game.
Well, Carolina's got a pretty good defense, I think. But, as I pointed out before, if Minnesota does not, put their defense in a bad position where it's a short field by turning the ball over, Minnesota's defense has played all right this year.
Oh, I agree.
So it'll be up to, I think, like I said, if Andy Dalton plays, the Panthers have a chance. If they go with Bryce Young, I think the Vikings win this game. And then we've got the Toilet Bowl. It's the 0-3 Denver Broncos and the 0-3 Chicago Bears.
Well, Sean Payton,
mobile quarterback will make a big mistake first?
Fields. Even though Wilson hasn't played up to par, and it's not been the same Russell Wilson from Seattle, he can still throw the ball. He can still complete a touchdown. Fields has really shown he's struggled with all that. He can run, but you get enough pass rushers after him, he's like a deer in headlights. He's just going to sit there and watch you come and get him. So
I'm a firm believer that any team that is embarrassed on national TV will win the next week. If you've got a team that loses and gets their ass kicked and everybody's talking about it, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they win the game. I like Denver against Chicago.
I like Denver because I think Chicago's just going to find a way to lose. They've been doing a solid job of that all 3 weeks.
This is a good one right here. The Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Now, both teams, have pretty good defense. Deshaun Watson, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast here, is starting to look like the Deshaun Watson from Houston. He's got some playmakers around him, and I think that Baltimore's best chance to win, against Cleveland is if they keep the ball out of the hands of Deshaun Watson by running the ball and playing strong defense. Okay. I think that they're more susceptible to turning the ball over if they allow Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. Okay. Not that he's a bad passer, but it opens him up to take hits from Myles Garrett, who has played really well this year, and, the other guys there for the Cleveland defensive line. And so I think this will be a back and forth battle. It'll be really tight. It's a division matchup, and, it's for the division lead right now, 2-1 each. I think that Baltimore coming off the loss to the Colts, they're going to have something to prove. But I'm sure the Browns learned a lot watching the film from the Indianapolis Colts game, and they may implement some of the things that they saw in that game. I'm actually going to take Cleveland playing at home against Baltimore.
I'm with you. I'm taking Cleveland. And can't we just say technically this is Browns versus the old Browns?
Yes, but don't say that or you'll get the Ravens fans all up in arms.
Hey,
hi, Keenan.
Hey, the guy giving shit. No, I think
Right.
I still think it's crazy because the Browns move out of Cleveland, become the Ravens, and then win the Super Bowl. Or no, wait a minute. Then the Browns came back, 1999? The Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Baltimore won the Super Bowl in like 2001.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, 2000. They won it in 2000.
That's fine. Anyway, so we move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans. We saw what the Texans did to Jacksonville, but Jacksonville doesn't have the defense that Pittsburgh does. So I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have, a lot better time against the Texans. I think that the Texans are not going to be able to run the ball. It'll be the same thing that we saw last week. They'll be pass happy. C.J. Stroud, being a rookie, is bound to make a mistake against that veteran secondary, Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, and the group back there. I think that the Steelers will be able to run the ball in this game.
Yes.
Okay? I think they'll be able to run the ball in this game. If Pickett doesn't make any mistakes, Pittsburgh wins the game in Houston.
Agreed. I'm with the Steelers on this. Unless C.J. Stroud and the Texans come out, they got a chance. They know what victory tastes like anyway, no? But the Steelers, to me, they're a better matchup, better team. Both sides of the ball. They shouldn't lose this one unless they go in there and overlook them. But I'm going with the Steelers.
The Rams at the Colts. This is the Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson Bowl. Both of those guys played for both these teams, just in reverse order. And so, for me, I seen what the Rams did last night against Cincinnati. They made mistakes. They couldn't get the ball down the field. There was a lot of pressure. And the Colts provided a lot of pressure against the Baltimore Ravens. They got to Lamar Jackson a couple of times in that game, and he's a mobile quarterback. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be under siege, and the Colts, especially if they play Gardner Minshew and not Anthony Richardson, I think the Colts can win this game and really surprise the league by going to 3-1 early in the year.
I think as long as their defense shows up, gets pressure on Stafford, and can play good on defense, I think any quarterback that plays for the Colts can win this game. Richardson hasn't played that bad. He's played pretty good. Don't get me wrong, Gardner Minshew came in and got him the win last week. But if Richardson's 100% recovered from the concussion, I think they can still win that game. He might have, and that might be the better for their offense if you think about Sam Darnold. Richardson could get away from Sam Darnold.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints for the lead in the division, both 2-1. And, the Buccaneers come off the loss to Philadelphia, but their defense played well a lot of that game.
Yes.
The Saints defense played well a lot of the game against Green Bay, but the Saints are playing at home. Now you're going to have Jameis Winston probably starting against his former team. Baker Mayfield starting, of course, for the Buccaneers. I don't think that either team's going to be able to run the ball, and it's basically, who do you trust throwing the ball? Baker Mayfield or Jameis Winston? Now, Winston has been in the offense that he is going to run for a few years now, whereas Baker is a newbie in the offense that he's, going to be, rolling out there with Tampa Bay. Everything in my heart tells me to take the Saints in this game, but I really think Tampa Bay may have their number.
Very possible. But I'm not going to rule out your Saints because we've all seen how players play when they play the former teams, and it brings like another level out in them. So I expect Jameis and Winston to actually play a decent game, but we all know Wilson will try to force passes, and that could easily give the Buccaneers the win by him making a mistake like that in the game. So I'm going to favor the Buccaneers, but I'm not going to write off the Saints either.
The Washington Commanders beat the Philadelphia Eagles last year. And so this will be a very interesting matchup. Commanders coming off a blowout loss against Buffalo. The Eagles with a tight, well-fought game against the Buccaneers. Eagles playing at home. They've got the full week to prepare. And, I look at this game and I think, Sam Howell threw 4 interceptions because they couldn't run the football and they were forced to throw. And that Eagles defensive line is so strong, I think the same thing may happen. I think, unlike the win last year where they kind of eked it out, I think the Eagles get payback here and win the game easily against the Commanders.
Oh, for sure. I can see another blowout.
Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, both teams 1-2. Are they going to rest, an aggravated injury there by Joe Burrow, or are they going to let him just continue to ride it out and play? I think that if they were going to rest him, this would be a good game to do it because I don't expect a lot out of the Titans. I think that Cincinnati should win this game, even if it is in Tennessee. I guess it's just a preference. But if Joe Burrow plays, I don't think there's any way that Tennessee beats Cincinnati.
For me, this game could be really interesting because it's all going to be to me, it comes down to, it all depends what team shows up. Because if that Monday night team shows up again in this week and Sunday, and they play similar and struggling, like they were doing, forcing balls to chase, Tennessee's defense is good enough to stop a lot of that. And they might sneak a bullcrap win out and really hurt the Bengals.
Ron says Tennessee gets win number 2. And he also says that the Redskins, Commanders, are going to beat the Eagles.
I don't see that, but hey, I'm sure he'll be letting us know next week if he's right.
Well, here's a couple of teams with 0 defense. You got the Raiders and the Chargers, an AFC West battle in Los Angeles. You know that the place is going to be filled with Raider fans, and that'll make things hard on the Chargers. Going to be a real good game. My initial impression is that I think the Chargers should beat the Raiders, but depending on the crowd noise, if the Raiders can get their running game going against the Chargers, I don't think Garoppolo will make any mistakes in the game. I think the Raiders have a real good chance of winning this game because they're going to feel like they're in a team-friendly environment.
Just not that. It's also on Deuce Staley's coaching decisions, as we discussed about the Minnesota and their game last week. Is he going to make another dumb choice as a coach and this time get burned on it? We'll have to see. But in all, the Chargers should win this game. But I don't have much faith in the Chargers this year because they haven't won games that they should have all year. So, and let's be honest, they shouldn't have won against Minnesota when you turn the ball over and give the team a chance to win. But they just got lucky that Kirk Cousins threw a pick.
Well, it was tipped. If it hadn't been tipped, Minnesota comes out of there with a victory. Hawkinson couldn't keep a hold of the ball, which I know that just makes your day. We got Hawkinson over there, and and he screws it up so the Vikings lose.
And then you paid them all that money.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys rebound against the New England Patriots. Patriots come to Dallas to play at AT&T Stadium. They're coming off of a narrow victory over the Jets. Cowboys, of course, got embarrassed against the Cardinals, and I think that that's all of the motivation that they will need to, put a real pounding on the Patriots there in Arlington.
Dallas should win this. I'm curious to see how Zeke plays in this game, since this will be his first game, not a Cowboy in the stadium. It would be pretty funny if somehow he turns his wheels and actually produces real rushing yards and a couple TDs and a victory. I would laugh my ass off all the way to the bank if that happened, but I don't have high hopes that will happen. But it would be funny to see.
Rod says that the Raiders are going to beat the Chargers unless the Chargers get Austin Eckler back. And then he thinks Dallas should win because he doesn't think they're going to overlook a team again after what happened last week.
He might be right.
And that brings us to a really interesting matchup. How for real are the Cardinals? They played the Commanders tough, should have won that game. They played, the Giants and had the big lead on the Giants, should have won that game. Did beat the Cowboys, but now they got the big boys. The team that I think is the favorite in the NFC is going to be playing against them, and the 49ers are playing at home. I think that we will find out for sure if the Cardinals have any real fight in them. The 49ers have struggled in the first half against teams this year, not putting up the kind of offensive displays that you would expect until the second half of games. I think that the Cardinals have a chance to put some points on them early and make a game of it. But if they don't, I think the 49ers throttle them.
For sure. I think the 49ers, there's no way they lose this game. In my opinion, but the Cardinals, I don't know. I guess I can't really say that because I think the Cardinals even had a shot last week. So I guess we'll see if they got another upset in them. But I expect the 49ers to be 4-0 after Sunday.
Sunday Night Football is going to be a showcase of the Kansas City Chiefs offense versus the New York Jets defense.
I'm calling the biggest upset.
The Jets are going to beat the Chiefs, huh?
By 3 touchdowns.
Want to bet on it?
No, because I'm totally fucking with you right now.
Oh, okay. I'll give you 7 points.
Give me 30 points and we'll talk.
Well, listen, I don't think that they'll put up that many points against the Jets. The Jets have a good defense, okay? And they're playing at home. They don't want to be embarrassed, okay? I think that the Chiefs' defense will play well, but, I could see the Jets getting 17 on them.
It's
But I
doable.
think Kansas City will try to run the football. I think that they will struggle to run the ball, so they'll end up doing a lot of screens. They'll get the ball to Travis Kelce, and then they'll hit a couple of long ones to that Justin Watson guy. That'll open it up for some of the other receivers. Kansas City wins the game 34-17.
Yeah.
And that gives us the Monday night game between the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Giants. Seahawks coming off back-to-back real good victories, playing against the Giants, who are coming off of, their West Coast trip where they were down big to the Cardinals and managed to come back. And then they got beat down by the 49ers. They're playing at home. They've got an extra day to prepare because it's Monday Night Football. Will we see the Giants wake up? Okay. Are they going to wake up? Will we get to see Saquon Barkley? Will he come back to play in this game? Or will they have to continue to ride Matt Breida? We know they have the weapons. We know what they're capable of doing. They just haven't done a lot of it thus far this season. Seattle, I like their defense, but their defense is the 49ers defense. Their defense is not the Dallas Cowboys defense.
For sure. I think
I think this could be a really good game.
Yeah.
Seattle going on the road. They need to run the ball and keep Daniel Jones and the other team off the field. If they do that with Zach Charbonnet and they do that with Kenneth Walker III, I think that Seattle should come out with the victory. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Seattle goes out east and has a letdown and the Giants come away 2-2.
I agree. I think the Seahawks should be able to go win this game. But if the Giants really want to make it back to the playoffs and get their season back under control, they need to win this game. This is the game they need to respond. They're lucky they got it at home, prime time. This is the time you got to dig deep and get it and figure a way to get that W and put you back at 2-2, to put you back on track, and hopefully get some confidence in your offense and defense moving forward. Because if you lose this game, you're 1-3, and it's not looking pretty.
Yeah, Seattle, if Seattle manages to win this game, they're going to keep pressure on the 49ers to continue to win. They'll be right on their heels.
Exactly.
And, we know that those two teams played in the playoffs last year, and it was a struggle and a fight back and forth. And so, I expect Seattle to be a playoff team. I think that there's a real good chance they go into New York and they go to 3-1.
Exactly.
And there's our preview for week number 4.
Great. It's a great
Looking
preview.
forward to Thursday night football.
I cannot wait.
I'm going to root for my Detroit Lions to beat the Green Bay Packers. And then you can root for your Kansas City Chiefs to slaughter the Jets, right?
Yeah. I'm going to root for the Jets, even that I know it's going to take a whole miracle, and I'm not even going to say any scenarios. Hey, I always got to root against KC, man.
Oh my God! Well, that just goes to show how worried you are about how good they're going to be.
Hey, well, yeah. Hey, this is the first season I can hold my head high in confidence that my team's going to the playoffs. And it'd be nice.
Don't say that. Better knock on some wood now.
I'm gonna knock on some wood. But so I gotta root for the bigger teams to lose. Even though the Jets are not going to win this game, it, damn David. And right. I'm not gonna speak nothing into existence because I'm not that type of person. But some things would seriously have to happen, I think, on Sunday for them to honestly lose that game.
Rod says he's rooting for Kansas City to beat the rest of the NFC North.
There you go. You want me?
Well, hey,
I'm
they
with Ron.
probably will. They probably will.
I'm with Ron. So every time when you guys play the other teams from the North, like, hey, I rooted for you this past Sunday against the Bears. Does that fucking count, guy?
Oh,
That should count for
listen,
something, damn it.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us for another Tuesday night rundown here. And, be sure to tune in. Are you going to do the Sunday morning deal this week?
Yes. Well, my understanding, everything's back. A family issue happened last weekend, so we couldn't do the show.
Okay.
So I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but Sunday, as far as I know right now, is still going.
What is that broadcast called? What is that?
It's called the NFL Clutch Report.
Okay, and that's going to be on Sunday morning before the game start. Catch me, Picks with David. You can catch me before the game on Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, and you can also catch me on Sunday mornings where I'll have, I'll already be posted. I don't do a live broadcast, but I'll have my picks, and I'm doing really good this year. I'm at 14-4 through 3 weeks.
Exactly. And
the first week I went 3-3. I went 6-0 in week 2, and I went 5-1 this week with my video picks.
Matter of fact, I'm in your picking league right now. You join, and there's a 3-way tie. There's somebody else in here with us, but we're all at 97.9 win percentage. We're 32-16 so far out of 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it going, and we'll see you next time, right?
Exactly. All right, guys, it's been real. Another great show, David.
Thanks for all the comments, Ron.
Exactly. It's always great when Ron's in the house. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining 4th and Goal Sports Broadcast. I appreciate it. David, it's always wonderful. Every Tuesday, it's one of my favorite days of the week to be here with you guys. I can't wait till next week, and hopefully I can rub it in and make him eat crow because his Kansas City lost to the Jets.
Yeah, right.
Hey, if I keep praying and hoping.
Green Bay. What happens if Detroit loses to Green Bay? Then what are you going to do?
I'm going to call in sick.
I'm calling in sick. Hell yeah.
No, I'm joking. I will be here. I will be here to eat my crow if that happens. Knock on some wood that don't happen. I cannot wait. Let's get this week started off right with the W so I can make sure I go hand pick my cigar out for next week because this one is toast.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you guys next Tuesday. Good night.